I want everyone here to close your eyes. Presentations like this often begin with a speaker asking the audience to close your eyes. The speaker then creates a soothing worldview, something peaceful and calm. Keep your eyes closed. My goal today is not to give you a warm, fuzzy feeling. My goal is to do the opposite. For the next 60 seconds, I want you to experience something every person fears. I want to terrify you. Keep your eyes closed. Focus on the blackness. Your pulse is starting to pick up. Your chest is tightening. It's getting difficult to breathe. I am not taking you to a beautiful waterfall. I am taking you into an eye specialist's office where a doctor in a lab coat stands before you with a diagnosis. The diagnosis is that you have an inherited retinal disease with a grim prognosis. You have lost 90% of your functioning vision. And over the next few years, you will go blind. You may now open your eyes and look at me. This is the diagnosis I received 7 years ago, but it wasn't for me. It was for my 10-month-old son, Lionel. And in that moment, every future I imagined for him suddenly changed. A normal gut punch is paralyzing, but it lasts just for a minute or two. This gut punch has lasted years. Of course, my wife and I didn't accept the news right away. We placed toys near Lionel's hands and celebrated every time he grabbed one. We looked for any possibility to convince ourselves that he did not have LCA, a retinal disease that begins with about 10% functioning vision before progressively getting worse. Soon after getting the news, the pandemic hit, and strangely enough, we were allowed to stay in our denial world a little longer. Inside our apartment, Lionel memorized every corner of our home and walked around with confidence. We continued convincing ourselves that his vision was more or less okay. But eventually, the world opened up, and so did our eyes. Outside, it became impossible to ignore Lionel's visual impairment. What frightened us wasn't just the diagnosis. It was the future that we imagined waiting for him. Schools where visually impaired children learned zippers and buttons instead of math and reading. Career pathways that felt painfully narrow. And perhaps hardest of all, the stigma. In many places, including here in China, when a child is born with a disability, people often assign blame. The mother ate the wrong food while she was pregnant, or the family did not pray correctly. Someone must be responsible for this random genetic variation and therefore deserve this punishment. China has 17 million visually impaired people, yet you rarely see them publicly participating in everyday life. I understand why. One day on the subway, I heard a little girl ask her grandmother, "Why is that boy wearing such thick glasses?" And the grandmother answered, "Because he watched too much television." What hit me hardest was not the ignorance, it was the blame. Because blame gives people permission to feel superior. How dare she blame Lionel's limited eyesight on Lionel himself? In that moment, my blood boiled, and I almost caused an international incident. But looking back at that moment, I'm strangely grateful for the clarity that it brought. Being born with a genetic disease is nothing to be ashamed of or take the blame for. While I no longer need to convince myself of that truth, I understand many families still need help reaching that conclusion. Today, I fully accept Lionel's diagnosis, but I do not accept the limitations society places on people with low vision. People with visual impairments do not need pity. They need access. Access to literacy, to mobility training, to quality education, to role models, to communities that expect great things from them. I still remember something my old principal told me. If you don't like your surroundings, what are you doing to change them? At that time, I felt trapped by the limited opportunities around me and by the stigma that seemed to define what was possible. So I began to ask myself, how do I create change? In the summer of 2023, I attended a conference in America for families with low vision. For the first time, I found something I had been desperately missing: hope. And without this hope, I'd still be paralyzed by fear of Lionel's future. I began to think, how could families in China experience this same hope? So I decided to get moving on an idea, literally. I signed up for the Chengdu Marathon and pushed Lionel for 42 kilometers. I hoped to raise funds for retinal therapies while also providing access to resources that I had learned about. But perhaps most importantly, I wanted to break the heavy chains of stigma and bring visibility to people with low vision and let families know it's okay to be seen. Nothing changes if we stay hidden. Lionel and I named our father and son team Hope in Motion. At first, it was just a name. Later, it became a community. What I remember most about that first challenge was not the marathon itself. It was that hope had finally started spreading. We made it to the Sichuan News, and soon families of children with low eye vision began to contact me and ask questions. Our message was spreading, and rather than letting the momentum stop, we pushed forward with another challenge. In 2024, Lionel and I rode 700 kilometers across Iowa on a bamboo bike in RAGBRAI, the world's largest bike ride. For 7 days, we slept in a tent, woke up at 5:30 in the morning, pedaled all day, and survived entirely on junk food. Among 15,000 cyclists, 6-year-old Lionel was the youngest rider by 6 years. Together, we were featured in 5 newspapers and raised $6,000 for curing retinal blindness research. Then last summer, we paddled over 70 kilometers through the Boundary Waters, battling headwinds, waves, mosquitoes, and fatigue, all with no cell service and no easy escape. Lionel and I really needed a shower after this one. And this year, on May 1st, right here in Chengdu, we took on our most memorable challenge yet: 100,000 steps in a single day, 17 and a half hours. This time, something had changed. For it wasn't just me and Lionel anymore. Over 75 people joined, many in this room. People from different provinces, countries, and cultural backgrounds. Along that walk, I learned that the power of we is far greater than the power of me. Collectively, we walked millions of steps, raised over 16,000 RMB for children's low vision community of Chengdu. Now, when I think about all these challenges that Lionel and I have accomplished, I smile. But occasionally, I still feel that gut punch. Sometimes I watch Lionel struggle with things that other kids seem to do effortlessly. Catching a ball, picking an eraser up off the floor, recognizing the face of someone who said hello. And for a moment, I am right back in that doctor's office, feeling short of breath. But I've learned something. Getting the wind knocked out of you is not the end of the story. Eventually, you breathe again. And if you are lucky, the thing that knocked you down becomes the thing that moves you forward. Because hope is not sitting still and waiting for things to get better. Hope is motion. I want to invite my son Lionel to come on stage and explain how we can keep this hope in motion.
Hello everyone, my English name is Lionel, and when I'm in trouble with my mom, my Chinese name is Xiao Jinglie. Today I am here to speak for people that have low vision. I have low vision too, but may I have limited eyesight, I believe I have unlimited potential. Even though I'm only 8 years old, I have already done some pretty cool things, including being an A student. My daddy tells me not to be arrogant, but he also said it's okay to be proud for what we've done, like running a Spartan race and hiking 30 kilometers in Tiger Leaping Gorge. Life can be challenging, sometimes, especially when we go on adventures. But I believe the harder the challenge, the better the reward. Earlier, my dad told you to close your eyes, and as scary as the blackness may be, it also reminds you the best things in life is not seen with the eyes, but felt by the heart. I wish all kids and all people, no matter their eyesight, can go outside and explore the world. But keeping this hope alive, it just doesn't take me. It takes all of us. Hope is a powerful thing, but when hope is moving, it's more powerful. So that's why I need everybody in this room to keep hope in motion. Hope is volunteering. Hope is making donations. Hope is moving with us and sharing our stories so that more people join. Because when hope is in motion, we move closer to a world where kids like me can experience the world just like we meant to. Not just with our eyes, but felt with the heart. Thank you.
Ready, model? 3, 2, 1, let's take a bow.